Now, it's been a bitter and tense past few weeks in the ruling All Progressives Congress, with clashes and crises erupting everywhere from the leadership of the party to the primaries and beyond. Calls for unity within the APC from the national chairman, Adams Oshimole, and President Buhari do not seem to have had any effect so far. At the very least, they've been half grudging, if at all, and the divisive elements, few though they may be, have made it almost impossible for many Nigerians to now remember that the APC once stood for a party that promised in 2015 to sow the seeds of optimism and unity and to put the country ahead of the politicians, not the other way around. Instead, political carnage has of late been on offer, and the overwhelming perception appears to be that their victory has not been the people's victory, and there's been little to celebrate for struggling families across Nigeria. Well, in the face of all that, one man continues to roar approval for the APC, or is at least happy to deliver polite applause. He is Senator Ayo Arise from Ekiti State, on the platform of the APC and one of President Buhari's board chairman appointees. And Senator Arise joins me now in the studio. Jolly nice to see you, Senator.
Same here. Thank you very much for having me.
Is this a good time to be part of your party, the APC? Because you just seem to be lurching from one problem to another.
Well, it's not unexpected. I mean, this is the first major election in terms of national election, primaries towards regaining the seat of the presidency. So it's not really that surprising that you have people who are not too happy with the outcome of the process. And it's the same way we witnessed the PDP over
there we go, immediately 16, with the comparison. 18, instead of dealing with your party, you've got to make that comparison.
Yeah, because we live in the same space. We're all Nigerians. And what my own party stands for is how to get things done better.
Yeah, but there is no evidence. I mean, you're sounding sanguine about it, but the fact is that you're facing, somebody called it disaster on all sides, with the chairman of your party fighting with the governors in general and the governor of Imo State in particular, people still leaving your party and disillusioned by how it's being run, primaries unresolved, the elections looming amid so much disunity.
Well, that is well said, but the governors quarreling, maybe you have about 3 of them out of how many governors?
Well, actually, the numbers initially
yes.
were quite high.
Of course.
Quite a lot of them were very angry.
Yes, because...
And they forced the party, essentially, to bend to their wishes. I mean, including even in your state, Ekiti State, because I understand that you were going to run, I mean, you know, for the Senate, and one of the reasons you pulled out was because they went from having direct primaries, which is what the national chairman stated that he wanted to do.
Yeah.
You know, somebody twisted his arm and he allowed them to hold indirect primaries.
Well, but at the end of the day, it was direct in Ekiti. But at the time that announcement was made, I mean, when we started hearing...
That's why you pulled out.
I just said, no, I can't handle this.
Yes.
Because I want to see things done properly. And the leadership of the party stepped in. And there was direct primaries in Ekiti. But I had already granted the press conference. I was no longer going to participate based on the fact that we were going to have indirect primary as against the direct primaries.
What was it about indirect primaries that you didn't like? Was it the influence of these same governors we're talking about?
Any way you look at it, the governors, the way they are today, they are like many emperors. And maybe they didn't start out to be like that. But the fact that they control the purse, the wallet of the states. And how do you want to fight a sitting governor? It's extremely difficult. But all you can ask for is a free and fair election to reduce the influence of the governors. Because every governor is trying to maybe appoint somebody to come after him, or some of them are actually looking for the same seat that you're looking for. Or they are projecting that maybe in some years' time, this is where they want to be. So,
and of course, once the governor says he wants your senatorial seat,
exactly.
I mean, you're pretty much out of the game, aren't you?
That's almost a foregone conclusion.
Right.
We had several cases in several states. And when you look at it, it's not a problem of APC. It's a problem of what we have inherited in our political system. Now, if we are able to
But we were hoping that the APC, because you talked about change. I mean, you talked about radical, strong, purposeful change. And what people expected was a complete overhaul of the system. And where better to start overhauling the system than in your own backyard? And you failed to do that.
Well, when you look at it again in terms of change, the president stands for change. The vice president stands for change. Most of the leaders stand for a change.
I mean, if you...
a number of things are changing.
I'm sure, Senator, you've been around Nigeria. You talk to... I mean, you've taken part in elections. You talk to the electorate.
Yes.
I mean, let's just be candid about this. Let's stop denying the ordinary Nigerian person their right to have their rulers be subject to them. I mean, what you guys are doing, and it's not just the APC in fairness to you, but what you guys are doing is that you're subjecting the people to the will of the politicians. Everything you do is between yourselves.
Yes.
The people, you don't really matter.
And that is why this change has to come. Yeah, that is why we are talking of direct primaries now.
But that's why you keep talking about change.
Yeah.
For most Nigerians, that's what I started off saying. You've gone around and spoken to people. Most of them will say that change is a slogan. It has not become a program. They're not seeing it, they're not feeling it. You see what I mean?
Now, let's look at it this way. We've been following the vice president. We've been hearing things around. There is direct contact with Nigerians at the grassroots now. There are so many programs that this party has introduced which never existed before. It's as if those poor people did not matter. Now, APC is saying that the poor people matter. There is the trader money going around. There's the Empower. There are so many programs that is touching the people, the poor, that in the past they never felt government.
Yeah, but you see, the problem with that, Senator, is that if you go back, and you were quite keen to make that comparison between your party and the PDP, and by the way, you've been a member of the PDP as well as the APC. I mean, if you go back to the PDP could make the same argument. They created the EFCC, which is the party that, the commission that you're using to leap down on people from a great height right now. They also brought the GSM, the mobile phones, these phones that we've all got here. They brought that. Talk about what touched the Nigerian people. And what have you done on that scale that has that kind of transformative effect on Nigerian society?
Well, from the last I could remember, we were at about 4,000 megawatts of power.
Well,
I think in the last few days, I've had continuous power where I live.
I like that. Well, congratulations.
Yes.
For the last few days, you've got a little bit of extra electricity.
Yes, people are expressing that. Don't forget that I've been living in this country for quite a while. We can compare. We can see improvement. What we don't enjoy right now is a universal 24/7 power.
Well, the problem...
But this is not a problem of APC. APC is just trying to ensure that what we require as a minimum for our standard of living, that we attain it. Well, and that cannot be done in 3 years.
Right.
And that is what...
Yes, you have a point.
Yes, that is where the party is gravitating towards. Money is being spent. We have improved the power from like 4,000 to...
Well, you're saying you've improved... Look, can I say this? Yeah. Okay. I was in very close contact with people, Professor, Barton Naji, Lia Moke, all the rest of them. I mean, I interviewed all of them. I went to their offices. They made the same... everybody always says, oh, look at the problem is sustainability and consistency.
Yes.
In other words, there needs to be a graduated but steady increase in power supply, so that whatever bit you get to, you sustain that power supply before you move on to the next level.
That is correct.
They've all had the fluctuations. I mean, there was a time when electricity went up quite a lot under Professor Barton Nagy and all the rest of them, and then it came down again. I mean, that's the problem. Inconsistency. Let's move this away from that anyway. Let's talk about the APC governorship candidate in Imo State, Senator Hope Uzodimma, arrested over a breach of contract which reportedly involved $12 million awarded to him by the Nigerian Ports Authority, which the chairman of President Buhari's Special Investigation Panel is quoted as saying Senator Uzodimma did not execute. What's the story there, and has it got anything to do with politics?
I don't think it has anything to do with politics, because Senator Uzodimma is the candidate of the APC.
Which brings me to...
Now, if it were an APC versus PDP matter, then that report...
Well, of course, there's an internal political problem between himself and the incumbent governor there.
Yes.
So that's why the issue of politics is being brought up. But what I'm trying to understand is, didn't the APC vet its candidate before allowing, or its candidates, before allowing them to be party flag bearers? Because, I mean, this was a presidential panel that ordered his arrest. I mean, how did he come to be the candidate of the party in those circumstances? I'm not saying he's been found guilty.
Yes, yes.
But I'm saying that if there was an issue like that, why was he allowed to even take part in the elections at all until he'd resolved that problem?
Well, those who did the screening could not have disqualified him based on allegation. But now that he has been arrested and will be tried, and if he's guilty, now this is a pre-election matter now. If he's guilty, I don't know what the court will say in terms of if invariably goes ahead to win the election. But if that is the correct situation, it is this same APC government that said, okay, this man has committed this offense, he should be arrested. We should give kudos to this president, regardless of which party you belong to. We are fighting for rule of law. It's not about who you are.
But the problem there, I mean, I take the point you're making on board, and ordinarily that ought to be a you know, to say, yes, he's done something, you know, he's accused of not targeting people in the APC, now he's done this or whatever. But the point really is that within the APC in Imo State, there's a political issue.
Yes.
And so there is that nagging suspicion that nettlesome question of politics is rearing its head up again, somewhere in there.
Well, if politics would bring out inadequacies, anybody that has flouted the law under this government, regardless of which party you belong to, you have to be answerable. And the moment we're able to put down there as a policy of our government, Nigeria is ready to move forward. We're not saying that Buhari will resolve the problem of Nigeria in 3 years or 4 years.
But that's what you said 3 years ago.
No, it can't.
That's what you said to the Nigerians. That's why they voted you in. No. They didn't vote you in for you to come and start experimenting.
No.
They voted you in because you said this is what these people have done wrong.
Yes.
And we are coming. We're the party of transformation, the party of change, and we're coming to bring this new dawn to Nigeria.
But you will agree with me, Charles, that
it's still midnight.
If the president came in and now says everybody that is alleged to have committed a crime should be crammed in jail, what would happen?
No, I'm
Public outcry.
not saying that.
So there is a process.
Right.
And the process is going on. It's an ongoing process. The court has a role, a very big role to play. If the court continues to play the game of and allow people to continue to adjourn and adjourn and adjourn, 8 years, nobody will be tried. The reason why corruption thrives in this country is because people have not been answerable to their crimes. If a person has genuinely committed a crime against this country, the person should be tried very swiftly and judgment should be given. It doesn't have to be a long term of sentence, but you must ensure that you do something. And we are seeing that this government is doing something.
Okay,
it's a departure from the past.
Right, let's hold that thought. Stay with us. You're watching Nigeria, the road to 2019. Plenty more still ahead, including we continue our chat with APC Senator Ayo Arise as Nigeria readies for the start of the campaign season just days away amid continuing battles within the APC. Stay with us.